soul friends, welcome back to my channel Helky Rain. Today I wanted to add to my numerology series, which I started much earlier on at the beginning of my channel. If you're interested in that, I will create a playlist for this. So I've already covered number 5 and how number 5 connects with the tarot, and also what it means in numerology in general, and today I'll be talking about number 9. The first key word for 9 is completion, and although we might think that 10 would connect more with completion, it is a very similar energy, but it is more that energy of a 0 and a 1. So it does have more 1 energy, so it's really about the ending of one cycle and the beginning of another cycle, whereas 9 is completion. You've learned everything you need to learn from said lesson or time in life, and then it's time to wrap that up. Like, you're complete, you're ready to move on to that 10 where you can do the transition onto a new cycle. So I would say 10 is much more about that transitioning away, whereas number 9 is much more about feeling complete. It's almost that energy of having gone through so much that you've learnt so much, so you can almost handle anything. I was discussing number 9 a few weeks ago with my sister, and we often sort of will bring numerology into things. So we all, just like we do with our astrology charts, we all have numerology charts. So we will have a lot of different numbers in our own energy, and sort of your main number that people tend to know is their life path number, and that is sort of the energy that surrounds the path they'll always take in life. So when you meet somebody who's got a lot of 9 energy, or they have a life path 9 in their chart, then you will find that these people really have this, like, it's hard to describe, but my sister said they have this almost like contentness, like this that is enviable. Like, they just have this energy about them, this lure about them, where they just seem so content. It's like a confidence and trust, but not coming from an ego place, coming from this like deep soul knowing, I guess, that is driven by that 9 energy, that gives them this very like content energy about them, that for most of us, you can look at someone with that 9 energy and feel like, oh God, like they just seem so content and okay with things, and it can be anything comes at them, problems, anything, but they seem to just deal with it really well. Like 9s are able to really deal with things, with shit, you know, in the best way, I would say, out of all the numbers, and that's why they have this very like calming, content energy. In numerology, 9 is known as the humanitarian. So I think naturally you might think, oh, does that connect with Aquarius? Because Aquarius is known as the humanitarian, but it's much more of a Sagittarius energy, and you know that Sagittarius is the 9th sign. Someone with a lot of Sagittarius energy will have a very strong knowing. So I have my moon in Sagittarius, and that is my like primary psychic ability, is this inner deep knowing. And that's when I'm reading cards, it's how things come in. It comes in as, I know this to be true, and that is very Sagittarian. So that is also very number 9 energy. So it's no surprise that in the tarot, the Hermit and is the number 9 card in the deck, and he really is the archetype of this kind of energy. It's somebody who just knows, gets that inner deep knowing, and their wisdom comes from that more spiritual place. And you can have 9 energy without being religious or spiritual, but you will have a very strong trust, in how you should approach things and how you should go about things in life. And it is this confidence, but this more contentness rather than an ego confidence. It's like a content confidence. That's why I'm not surprised that the Hermit is a number 9, because of course it very much embodies that energy. People with a lot of 9 energy are most likely to have a lot of experience here, having incarnated a lot, had a lot of past lives, or even just in this life that they're living right now, that they would have experienced so much in this life that it's really racked up a lot of experience and knowledge, wisdom and awareness. 9 is probably one of the most compassionate numbers. You do have that connection with the compassionate numbers. So you have the 3, the 6, and then you have the 9. So those 3 numbers are connected, and I find with all these numbers is that they are very compassionate, but they are in different ways. And the Hermit is very much about that, about going within to find that inner wisdom, that spiritual knowledge, and being able to alchemize that into something that can be more tangible in this physical realm to help others. They're very driven about helping others, and that's why the shadow aspect of 9, which we'll go into a bit later with the other cards, is very much about like sacrificing themselves too much. They can overextend too much, and that's where their shadow tends to come out. 9s, having gone through so much, they're often sort of thrown the hardest challenges in life out of all the numbers, and it will almost feel like someone with a lot of 9 energy, or a life path 9, or if you're putting a lot of 9s in the tarot in a certain period of your life, you'll find that you will come across so many challenges in life, and you will gain a lot of experience via suffering. And the shadow side of 9 is that you can start to fall into a bit of a well of depression, and kind of think that is all life is about, that it's just this constant experience of going through suffering, which is not actually the case, because it's all about going through that experience and coming out the other end, like the light at the end of the tunnel. And generally 9s sort of are good at that, but they can fall into that shadow aspect of things. So I think something to really help you when you're trying to understand that number 9 is that it's the humanitarian number. It's also represents completion, especially in the tarot, and it also is a very content energy. Just like the Hermit, 9 energy is great at giving advice. Like I said, they've gained so much wisdom over past lives, or even just within this life, that they're able to really help others. 9s are very accepting of others. They're not judgmental. It's not a judgmental number at all. And that's another thing that I do love about the 9 energy. 9s don't seem to like overly threat on things. They kind of take life as it comes, and they're really good at doing that. So how does the 9 show up in the Hermit? It's quite obvious. The 9 is the sage of the numbers, as the Hermit is the sage of the tarot. And it's the oracle, it's the bringer of wisdom, it's someone who's very connected to their inner knowing. It's that Sagittarius energy as well, because a 9 wants to experience everything. They want to see every side. They want to learn from every perspective. They are very open-minded in that way. They want to sort of travel and learn about other experiences, other cultures, other countries. They're very open in that way, and they want to learn and they want to understand. With the Hermit, obviously people associate the Hermit with wanting to be alone, and for me the 7 energy is that side of the Hermit. The 7 energy really wants to be alone. They want to be able to learn, dive into their spirituality, but they want to do it on their own. I wouldn't say that is a very strong trait of the 9, even though we are talking about the Hermit, which that is a trait of. But The Hermit, it's not really about he wants to be away from the community or away from things. It's just that he has so much knowledge within, and I think it's less about literally being a hermit for the 9 energy here. I think he's just much more like a symbol of he already has everything within and he doesn't need to seek outside of him. And that's the same with that 9 energy. I think that 9 energy can always access that inner knowing, that inner knowledge, but here when it shows up in this card, it's definitely about understanding that you always have access to that inner wisdom, that inner knowledge, just so long as you listen to yourself and trust your own instincts here. I think the same with the Hermit is he doesn't have selfish intentions or desires. The end result of his journey is always to come back to the community and share his wisdom and learn to integrate himself back into the community, or integrate the information that he's got, the knowledge that he's obtained into others. And that's where the humanitarian side of number 9 comes into this card. So that kind of gives you the connection with the number 9 and the Hermit. So we will go into the other card. I like to read my minor arcana cards in the order of Swords, then Wands, then Cups, and then Pentacles. I always feel like the end of the journey is that physical manifestation of the Pentacles. So I'll go over why that is quickly. So we always start with the thought, which is the air element, and the Swords. And then once we thought of something, then we can start pushing it and start creating it with the Wands energy and the fire energy. So it's that fuel behind the creation, and it is that lust in a couple before they make love and create a child. That sort of that lust and passion in moving forward with creating something, and from the idea that you had of creating it in the first place. So then after that you have the Cups energy, which is the water, which is like the womb, holding this creation and nurturing it. After you've pushed it forward, pushed this creation forward, you need to nurture it. After, you can't just push it out and abandon it. It needs to be nurtured for it to then, in the earth element, which is the Pentacles, to manifest. Everybody likes to read the minor arcana in their own ways. That's the beautiful thing about the tarot is, you know, you can literally interpret these cards however you want and however best resonates with you. But for me, this always makes the most sense, and it really helps me sort of navigate myself through the cards. So let's start with the 9 of Swords, which we know this card is, you know, it sort of represents nightmares and depression, anxieties, worrying, overthinking. And with like it being the Swords as well, we know that the Swords represents the thoughts and the mind, and here this person is clearly stressed, they can't sleep. So how does that connect with number 9 in numerology? It goes back to the shadow side of number 9 that I was talking about earlier. This sort of really represents that suffering a number 9 can find themselves in. It's that sort of losing your footing as a 9 and starting to feel like, wow, like I just get hardship after hardship, challenge after challenge. Like life for me just seems to be suffering, and that's all it seems to be. And you can get to this point where it can really feel quite depressing, and it's a reminder to understand that this is the air element, the Swords element, so this is in your mind, it's not the truth. I think this also really represents the shadow that 9s often face, which is the sacrificing themselves for others. With them being the humanitarian, it can be really easy for them to slip into bad habits of forgetting themselves, not caring for themselves, and worrying too much about other people, and then it ends up affecting themselves badly. When you sort of pull this card, you really know that that is no longer serving you. It's time to move on with this kind of suffering that you are creating through sacrificing yourself. So you have to sort of put your foot down and be like, okay, I need to do what's best for me, because what's best for me means I'm in a better place to help others. I can't keep helping people from this depleted place that I'm at right here. So it's ending this cycle that the 9 will find themselves in, depleting themselves through sacrificing in that humanitarian role, and really realizing it's time to move on from that, because that is not an endless resource for you to actually be able to help people when you deplete yourself to the point of suffering. It's just sort of a reminder when you get this card that that's where you're at, and to sort of realize that and be able to then focus back on yourself, start putting yourself first, and knowing that you'll always get back to helping others. So the next card we have is the 9 of Wands. And this does remind me again of what I was saying about how 9s really have gone through it more than most. Like, they have experienced a lot of hardships in their life, if not in a lot of past lives. They have a lot of experience, and this can often leave them in this place where they can feel quite resentful for that. The last card, you know, they're suffering and sacrificing themselves all the time, that you can get to the point where if you don't face that head on, you get to this point where it's like, I'm done, like, and you become very defensive. You just feel like everything that's going to come at you is going to be some kind of hardship, that your life has just been suffering after suffering, and you are sick of it and can become very defensive at this point. And you really need to get to this point actually in order to move on, because you need to be able to put those walls up, to put those boundaries up, so that you as a 9 can actually heal and then access your inner wisdom, which then can help others abundantly, because you have so much experience, so much inner wisdom, inner deep knowings, a great connection, natural connection with the divine. So when you pull this card, you can also remember that 9 energy that's connected to it, that this card has come up for a reason. It's come up through having gone through so much. These boundaries are being placed for a very good reason. It's so that you can move on from this time. You need to create this. If you know anything about how our emotions hold different like vibrations or frequencies, sadness, shame and guilt are like the lowest vibrations, and that is kind of here. We've got that kind of lower vibrations of the sadness and the guilt, but surprisingly a higher vibration is anger, even though we think of anger as a negative, low vibration. It's like if we're all having a good time at a party and then someone smashes a glass and is angry and starts an argument with someone, you feel like, oh, that energy is negative and it's bad, but actually it's a higher vibration than grief and sadness, guilt and shame. They are such low vibrations that are so unhealthy for us to stay in those vibrations for too long. It can really start to affect our health, and you need to get to that sort of angry, more defensive place. It's like when you go through a breakup, if you stay in the sadness for too long, you need to get to that anger and then eventually out into better, higher vibrational states such as contentness, happiness, etc. So here we're really seeing that kind of that anger, that look, I've had enough, I'm shutting the gate, I can't help anyone else, I need to heal myself, I need to transmute everything that's happened and work through my stuff. It's very much that putting up the boundaries so that you can really do the work. That's a very important energy to remember when you pull this card, that it's not coming from this defensive, cold place. In fact, it's coming from someone who's always put others before them. It's coming from someone who is a natural humanitarian, who desperately wants to help others and can't bear to see others in bad places. They always want to help others. So like, my mum is a life path 9, and she is so self-sacrificing, and she's just one of the most amazing people I know, and she has that real strong energy of contentness, even though she's been through more stuff in her one lifetime than anybody I've ever known, and really come through the other end of some really hard times, and today she's still such a positive influence on my life and many others, and I'm so grateful for that. And it definitely comes from that power of that number 9 on her life path number. She, like all number 9s, and even when you pull this card, this is just a sign of, look, it's time to understand, okay, you want to help others, but you need to step back for a while. You need to be strong and angry if you have to, if that's what you have to do in order to create boundaries with others. The best way I could describe sort of getting out of this sort of sad energy into this more defensive, boundary building energy, it's definitely in that more negative area of the emotional chart, but at the same time it's definitely above a higher vibration than the sadness and the shame and the guilt with the lower vibrations of the 9 of Swords. So next we get the 9 of Cups. This is a much more positive card. It's nicknamed the wish card by a lot of people, and it's that energy of like, I've got everything I could want, like especially here, like I've got everything I need. I'm feeling super content because this is embodying that energy, that positive 9 energy of I'm just so content. Like, and that's where what I was talking about earlier, how a lot of people can be very envious of people with a lot of 9 energy, because it is so content. It's like, why are they so content and I'm not? It's so admirable, really, and something that I really do love about the 9 energy and find very interesting. I think that makes them very different to the rest of the numbers, and here it's just shining in all its glory. And this is also a really good sign of how the 9 needs to be taking care of themselves first, and then they're able to inspire others. When you see people in this sort of place in life where it seems like they're just really super content, they've got more than everything they need, they're so happy with everything they've got, it's inspiring for others. And in that sense, it's still helping others by inspiring others. I think some people might look at this card and think, oh, like, what's he so stoked about? Like, he's got all those cups for himself, because it's not like in the 10s you see the abundance being shared with others. In the 10 of Pentacles, in the 10 of Cups, you see the abundance being shared with other people. And in all the 9s, it's solo figures. There's only one person on each card. You might have assumed that 9 was more of a selfish number, when actually it is the humanitarian number, because they lead by example. So it's less of that 6 energy, which is the harmony energy, and they want to create harmony and nurture others and really sort of baby step them through things. Like on the 6 of Pentacles, he's like giving out money and helping people, like literally giving out money and helping people. And you see the 6 of Swords, you've got that guy helping the 2 refugees like escape in the boat. So again, that's someone helping somebody. It's that kind of energy. But with the 9, it's more by influence, by leading by example. Very much the energy of that famous quote of, you can give a man a fish and he'll eat for a day, or you can teach a man to fish and he can eat for the rest of his life. So that is the 9 energy. They're not going to give you a fish. He's not just going to give you one of his cups and then you're okay for however long that lasts you. He's going to show you exactly how he got 9 cups, and then you can go do that yourself and empower yourself. And that is what is super beautiful about this energy, is it's very independent in that way. And if you go back to the connection with Sagittariuses are one of the most independent signs, self-driven, they know what they want, they're very open-minded, but they're not like necessarily the nurturers, but they still care about everyone. They still want to figure things out that can help people, like get questions answers that will help people as a whole, that can help inspire people, help people understand. So just as much as they want to understand, they want other people to have that same understanding and that same freedom. And that is very 9 energy. So here it's like, look, I've managed to get all this, leading by example. Keep watching and learn for yourself, you know. So it is that humanitarian energy, but it's just not in that obvious way that you might see with a 6, which to me is more of a nurturer and a motherly energy than actually a humanitarian who's trying to help the community as a whole and inspire a larger number of people. That is very 9 energy, and I get that with that 9 of Cups. You get that real contentness and you get that real confidence. Lastly, we have the 9 of Pentacles, and this card is very much associated with independence. The 9 of Pentacles is someone who is well taken care of. They're able to follow their dreams and have real freedom. Like, to me, this card represents freedom more than anything. It's that I have everything taken care of, I am taken care of, and now I can sort of do whatever I want without any blocks or barriers to doing that. So the 9 of Pentacles is a very stable energy, which definitely creates a great foundation for being that compassionate humanitarian that we see with the number 9. This again is going to inspire other people in the same way that the 9 of Cups does, where you are helping people by being the example. This is expressing their humanitarian in that similar way, where this woman is in the number 9 of Pentacles is very clearly abundant. She's in her garden, she's friends with the falcon, so she's showing that compassion to the animals, and she's tending after her abundant garden, and she's almost so approachable, which again that 9 of energy has. Like, you could just sort of approach her and you know that she would be so easy about giving you advice. It's a very approachable energy, but at the same time it's not overextending, the same sense that you might see with the 6 of Pentacles, where he's literally handing out money to people. It's more of, again, coming from that being the example that you want to see in the world, like be the change you want to see in the world. I would say that the 9 of Pentacles is the best representation of that contentness. It really does show somebody who is happy where they are in life, sort of take things as they come, and they easy come, easy go, problems easy come, easy solved, and things just seem to flow in that really nice content way. All the loose ends are met, and it is that completion here, and it's that final completion in my eyes, because it's a earth energy, which to me is that final manifestation. So you've gone through all these cycles, and then now you're here and you can rest. And that's why I think the 9 of Pentacles is that I can rest, like I've achieved it all now, and now I can just inspire others and I can help them as they come, but in the meantime I can just really enjoy my life. I'm complete, and that is what is nice about the 9. So earlier I said about how all the 9s have just one person, and then for example you've got the 10 cups there and it's got more than one person, the same with a lot of the other numbers. but all the nines have one person, and the key word for 9 is completion. And to me, this is a very important reminder that we often forget in this lifetime, that we are always complete. We don't need a partner to be complete, we don't need a family to be complete, we don't need a job to be complete, a status to be complete. We are complete wherever we are in life. Everything we need is within us, and that definitely is represented really well in that Hermit card. And again, in all the 9s, that's why it's one individual, because even though that this is telling us of completion and abundance, but she's on her own, it's because yes, completion and abundance is achieved within the one self, and everything else is a bonus. It's not necessary for completion. And although we see more people, often we see the family or the partners expressed in the 10s, and people might think 10 is completion. No, we meet completion on our own, and then we go on from there, we expand from there. That's the healthiest place for us to approach a family, a job, a partner, is to already be complete. That's why the 9 energy is completion, and it doesn't need anything but you to actually embrace that energy. You can then move on to a new cycle with 10s, which often have that family energy. It's about ending one cycle and moving on to another, but it's not about completion, because your completion already happened back in the 9s here. That's something you should definitely remember, and I think we all are constantly learning that lesson of other things don't make us complete, you know. Oh, I'm going to feel better if I get that red Ferrari. I'm going to feel better if I get a boyfriend. It's like, that's not the truth, and that is definitely a major lesson with the Hermit and all of the 9s. In fact, is you have everything you need to feel complete and to be content. I didn't see that in my research come up, but it happened in a discussion with my sister where we was realizing that people with 9 energy are super content, and we envy that. Who doesn't envy that? Like that real energy of contentness that comes with 9 people is amazing, it's brilliant, and we can all gain it and access it ourselves. Remember as well, if you do look up your numerology, you have more than one number. You don't just have a life path number, you have a whole chart, just like you have a whole chart in astrology. It's very similar. You don't really need to know that, but I think just understanding numerology this way can really help with your tarot readings. It helps me a lot with my tarot readings, helps me understand these energies of the numbers and be able to bring that into my readings. It's really helped me a lot, so I will probably continue this. It's been a massive gap between my last video on the numbers of the tarot. I just do these as I feel inspired to do them. I've been really embracing the 9 energy, admiring it from others, and I just felt called to do this video, so I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please do leave a like, leave a comment, let me know your thoughts, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.